Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera. Saya Syamsan Johari dan ini agenda Awani. Malam ini kita akan berbicara mengenai Yayasan Fatimah mengiktiraf hak wanita. Kita akan perkenalkan satu NGO dari New Zealand yang dinamakan sebagai Yayasan Fatimah. Dan kita ada pengerusi dan juga pengasas bersama Yayasan Fatimah dan juga seorang sukarelawan yang terlibat dalam bidang kaunseling dalam yayasan itu. Dan izinkan saya berbahasa Inggeris. I would like to welcome Madam Nolene van der Lisdong.
That's correct. Thank you.
All right, and Madam Wan Nazwah Wan Jaafar. Thank you for coming to the studio.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, you established the Fatimah Foundation in 2009.
That's correct.
And in New Zealand, this NGO is based in Auckland.
That's correct.
All right.
Yes.
But what had triggered you? What had actually, come to you and say, okay, I need to do this?
So what actually happened was we were becoming aware of the high numbers of domestic violence and family disputes that were occurring in the Muslim community of Auckland. And there just seemed to be, we had identified a gap between the other service providers and providing a service that catered to the needs of Muslim women. So that included a misunderstanding about the faith, cultural misunderstandings, why women wanted to stay married, so that we, and not necessarily, leave the family unit, but try to restore it. And so we found that there was a gap within that community, so we set up the organisation, initially really just as a volunteer base. Helping them out, giving them advice, showing them the pathway, and then later we realised that we actually need to set up an organisation.
So this is an organisation, a charitable organisation based on Islamic values.
Yes.
All right. And your main target is to help women and children in desperate need from domestic violence. All right. Does this mean that in New Zealand you have, only Muslim families deal with this domestic violence issue, or is actually a national issue where every families in New Zealand are facing, but because there are some sort of particular needs that you need to address, that's why you have to come in as a Muslim-based organisation?
I think first of all we need to understand that family violence, domestic violence happens in all countries. And it happens in all cities, and it is an epidemic that happens right across all communities and societies. What Fatimah Foundation aimed to do was to address and identify the needs of their particular ummah in Auckland, and so that's what we specialise in.
All right. And what are the major problems faced by women and children that are suffering from domestic violence in Auckland? What?
I think most of it is because of the abusive.
Physical abuse?
Physical abuse, and verbal too. And I think most of the time is like male dominance that the woman facing there. And what I can say is like, in New Zealand, the Muslim itself in the New Zealanders come from a different background, and sometimes they tend to bring their own culture instead of Islam. That is something. It's really sad that they represent it as Islamic
values,
which is wrong. And Fatimah Foundation's role is, the increasing of the Muslim numbers in New Zealand itself actually make us, we feel that we have the responsibility to help the people in New Zealand. So lots of cases that we receive from the police, we have been referred by the police with different cases that we have the statistic and the numbers that we got. So different people have different cases which we need to account it. We need to assist this woman.
Well, women, especially in a non-majority Muslim country like yours, like New Zealand, I think they have a lot more challenges because, you know, as a man, I don't have to wear hijab. I do not have to show my religion identity, but you do.
Yes.
So does this have any difference from domestic violence point of view in a majority Muslim country like Malaysia and a non-majority Muslim country like New Zealand?
So yes, so New Zealand is obviously a more westernised country, and the Muslim community is a minority. It's also a diverse. It has a diverse makeup of refugee migrants and revert Muslims, and even revert Muslims, we also experience domestic violence. So, but that also. You know, domestic violence covers quite a few issues: domestic, psychological, sexual, financial abuse. But when we as Muslim women are out and about doing our normal business, you know, we are the face of the community because we wear hijab. So we are out taking our children to school, we're the taxi driver, we take them to sports, we're in the shopping malls, we wear our hijabs, etc. And we have been the target of quite a lot of verbal abuse from the general public, you know, and so it's a concern to us that verbal abuse is growing, and so it's something that we actually have to work through. And you know, communication and clear dialogue with the people that we live in and amongst is probably the best way to go forward.
All right, I would like to know, how do you, with authorities, police, government in New Zealand, what do you call an NGO or a charitable organization like yours, how do you play a significant role, you know, make an impact, a real impact towards the community? We have to take a short break for a while, and when we come back, we're going to answer those questions.
Okay.
Ejibul Express ni. Lagi dalam agenda Awani, we're still with the chairman and the co-founder of the Fatimah Foundation, and Nolin van der Lisdom, and Wan Nadwa Wan Jaafar. She's a counsellor at the Fatimah Foundation. So, earlier question before we took the short break was, how do you work together with the authority, and how do you get authority to work with you? You see, and because playing a integral, impactful effort is something that is not easy. How do you make it happen?
Okay, so actually, fortunately, alhamdulillah, in New Zealand, NGOs and GOs understand the concept of working and collaborating together to meet the needs of our wider community. So we've been working with the police since 2009. We sit on a FAVIAS table, that's a Family Violence Interagency Response System, so that's where we normally get our referrals from. And they understand the important role that we play within our community. And likewise with many smaller NGOs like the Fatimah Foundation, the cultural and the religious communities, they have their own needs. So local government understand this because we live in a multicultural society, very much like I see in Malaysia here. So, you know, we need to take responsibility for our own issues and not necessarily be totally reliant on another community or another group of people to look after our ummah. We need to stand up and take a step up and look after, first of all, before we ask for help anywhere else, and look at what's happening in our community and you know, help out
So how do you work? You know, let's say a mother with 3 children, you know, have been abused for a couple of years now, and then how do you come in? Do you knock their door? You know, this is usually, you know, family matters. We're very private.
That's
you don't
correct.
share.
That's right.
You know, I know a lot of women, they're crying inside, but they don't show that. whenever they come to the office, you're like, oh, la, 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 we're so happy.
Yeah.
But you don't know the real things that happen behind the doors.
Yes.
How do you open the door? How do you engage them?
Yes. So we've been going since 2009. So we're quite a well-established and well-known organisation within our community. And also within governmental departments like Child, Youth and Family, like district health boards, and including the police. Just a couple of examples there. So we have a referral process as one way of making contact with a victim. And we also have self-referrals. So often we would get people calling us up, looking for help, or they'd come through our website and go through our website, and we would respond through our website inquiry. And often it's also word of mouth or referral through a friend, and sometimes the masjids. Yeah.
So it's not just a family living in silo, but the whole community has to be responsible and take note of what's happening in that particular household.
If you don't mind that,
Yes.
if I can share one of our story that we had client who live in Arab Saudi, and actually she haven't met her children for, I think, for a few months, right?
Closer to a year or so.
Yeah, yeah. And actually she managed to contact us, and I think she got it from her friends, that because she knows, she got information that her three children were in New Zealand, and she doesn't know where they live. And this lady come all over from Arab Saudi to New Zealand to seek help. And in the first place, what we did is to give shelter for her. And then after that, we do all the process, going to the court and the police, just to help her to meet her daughter. And the process go on until at the end of the day, she met her daughter and she got the right to.
You said clearly rights, because in Malaysia, I would say most ladies in Malaysia know about their rights as wives, their rights as individual. Rights to protect themselves from harm, even from their husbands. But in a such a multicultural society of New Zealand, where you have Muslims not just from Asia, you have Muslims from Arabs, Africa, locals who embrace embrace Islam. Those are a bit, it's cultural, what I call diversity. And some, I would say, I must say, some of this cultural are, they tend to say women doesn't have certain rights. Say that. How do you educate them?
So generally through our assessment process, it's quite important for us to make sure that the woman's comfortable in the space that she's sharing with us. And so this might take 2 or 3 meetings for them to feel that they want to share what they want to share. So there's absolutely no pressure on any of them to share what they want to keep close to their heart. But our role is also, apart from advocacy, is to provide them advice. And so one of the key things that we do is to help educate them around their rights and responsibilities in Islam, as what their women's rights, and also the rights and responsibilities as a resident of New Zealand in that context. So it helps them clarify where they stand under Sharia law, and it also helps them understand where they are within the New Zealand context.
That's why actually in Fatimah Foundation we have our own activities, which is like courses, and we try to give them resource. To the purpose of the activities is to educate these women to understand what Islam teaches. That is the main point, the right and responsibility, and the parenting skill that we try to assist them.
And I also reading here that you also provide youth supports.
Yes.
Yes. And I would like to know more about this. And then we have to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about this. Lagi sepasang. Lagi dalam agenda Awani, we're still with Nadawan Nadwa, Wan Jaafar, and Nolin Van der Lisdong from Fatimah Foundation, based in New Zealand. And besides helping mothers and children with, from domestic violence, you're also assisting youth, Islamic youth, Muslim youth in particular.
Yeah.
What kind of activities? How do you engage them? I know you are working with a lot of youth in New Zealand. All right. Why youth?
Well, youth are our future, first of all. So it's important that our youth have a solid grounding, both in their Islamic, as a Muslim, in a non-Muslim country, and contribute to society. A lot of our Muslim youth come from parents who are, have migrant or refugee background, or intercultural marriages. And some of them fall through gaps when there's a breakdown in the family, and youth of today don't have necessarily the same ideas as their parents or their grandparents.
Right.
And so culture culture plays a big part of that. And then when you put culture and try to align it with a faith-based expectation, there's a gap because they're living in a Western society. So what we have done with youth is actually we have picked them up at crisis point.
Okay.
Right. So, we're talking about young Muslim youth who end up sleeping in cars because they have been rejected by their families. But their families are very good people. But there's been this gap that they just can't work it out together as a family in the house. The expectations of the older generations and the new and exciting want-to-dos of the younger generation in New Zealand, So their parents have brought them to New Zealand for a better life, and yet, there's all that influence around them that the parents can't control.
And how do you help them? Through mentorships?
So yes, we have a program. We provide counselling first of all, and if it's a housing need, we would help them to find some accommodation. And really, if they're homeless, the first thing we need to do is actually to stabilise them, and that means finding them a safe space to stay where they know they're not going to get kicked out in a couple of weeks. So once we've managed to find them a stable place, then we start working on what they want to do and their goals for the future. This is all part of the mentoring program, and we've had quite a few success stories around that, putting them back into education when they fell out of education. And this is male and female youth, so we've had that. And also marital issues with young people where families, the elders in the family haven't agreed.
So, in total, how many people have you helped so far since 2009, mothers, children and youth?
So we average around, going on past statistics, we average around about 150 families per year, and whilst 150 families might sound small, in fact it's quite a large number for an organisation like Fatimah Foundation, and predominantly they are all Muslim families.
And only in Auckland?
And only in, well, we are based in Auckland. In fact, we have provided services and advice as far as Christchurch, Dunedin, Australia.
All right.
That's usually through communication, etc.
And also engaging, stakeholders in Malaysia now?
Yes, we're hoping to sort of come and bridge that support that we've already had from the Muslim community in Auckland, And part of our visit here today was to sort of meet and...
So how in the future we can work together?
Yeah.
Actually, currently, we had a meeting with with our volunteers from Malaysia and friends, and one of them professor from UIA, Dr. Haslina Ibrahim.
Alright.
And actually, we are in the progress. The purpose is to get more resource and information on how to educate those women.
Right.
Who really needs help. And as mentioned, we need to educate them on their rights and responsibility. I think that is the most important thing towards the Islamic values. So we are looking forward, and we invite more people to come with us, to collaborate with us. And I think the most crucial part in doing our activities is to get fund, because without funding we can't continue with this.
You can't work without funding. Yeah, I understand.
I think that is the most important thing that we really need.
All right, we have another 1 minute. So to sum it up, how do you see yourself? How do you see Fatimah Foundation in about 5 to 10 years? Nolin?
Well, inshallah, in 5 to 10 years would be a bigger and better organisation, a better funded organisation, and really it all depends on the funding contributions that we get. We've got a very good name at the moment, so I can't see why we wouldn't progress. And we have a lot of volunteers coming through.
And collaborations. Yes, of course. All right, all the best.
Thank you very much.
Fatimah Foundation from Auckland, New Zealand berkongsi dengan kita bagaimana sebuah yayasan membantu untuk menaik taraf dan juga mengiktiraf hak wanita di New Zealand yang mempunyai cabaran yang tersendiri. Di mana kalau kita lihat di New Zealand itu komuniti Islam yang agak orang kata diverse dan mempunyai cabaran-cabaran tertentu. Dan perbincangan ini tidak berakhir di sini saja. Anda juga boleh bersama kami di sosial media kami, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube juga, dan juga Instagram. Kongsi pandangan anda mengenai isu ini. Anda juga boleh menonton kami secara langsung di asrawani.com. Saya Syamsul Jari. Assalamualaikum. Selamat.